的老头啊？
你猜呢？
老弟啊。
Hi, welcome to the Silver Spleen. My name is Kostin Kevner, and this is my review of The Bodyguard. Sammo Hung is a legendary figure in Hong Kong cinema, and he has a legendary figure too. He's got decades of experience as a stuntman, an action choreographer, an actor, and a director. The Bodyguard is his latest acting, directing, and choreographing effort. It tells the story of Old Ding, a retired officer of the Central Security Bureau, who's struggling with the onset of dementia and the burden of a past that haunts him. The cast includes Andy Lau in a small role, and more than a few cameos from people like Choi Hak, Yun Bu, Carl Macca, and Eddie Peng, among others. This film is obviously made for the China market, but I don't want to use that as the start of another rant. At the same time, its effect on The Bodyguard is obvious, significant, and unfortunate. The opening credits play over vintage PLA training footage and include a pretty funny Photoshop moment. Now, since this is a China film, I hope you realize that it's no spoiler when I tell you that the good guys win and the bad guys get caught. In case we didn't already know that, in one of the last scenes in the movie, while there's dialogue between two of the characters about personal things, the TV in the background is showing footage of all the bad guys being led away by the righteous and valiant police to face fair and inescapable justice. At least, I assume that's what the newscaster said. You know, in case you had any doubts about the fate of bad people in China or the ability of the Chinese police to catch them. Because so much of The Bodyguard seems aimed at kids or at an audience that doesn't seem to need much to be satisfied. There's a lot of shallow humor, overstatement, and forced cuteness. There's no subtlety in The Bodyguard whatsoever. The TV telling you the fate of the bad guys is the most subtle thing in the whole film. Another problem with making a movie that way is that those rare moments when the film does need to be serious, many of the actors can't carry the weight. The writing doesn't help either. Although, you know, if we're going to be fair, the elderly woman who was sitting next to me during the screening I watched was totally engaged with the film and seemed really caught up. I enjoyed how much she enjoyed herself. The Bodyguard is an interesting film because it's one of the strongest, clearest arguments I've seen lately for the necessity of a rating system in China. But it's not for the reasons you might think. The first hour of the movie toddles along in a nice G-rated haze, but then suddenly it takes a brutal turn down Leon the Professional Street and gets violent. Really violent. I wasn't offended by any of it, but I was shocked. And I remember thinking that somebody somewhere in China signed off on this movie that's supposedly viewable for all ages, making it okay for children of all ages to see the rather graphic effects of stompings and stabbings and other violence. It was weird. Some of the cameos in The Bodyguard, and there are quite a few, are nice, but others seem like just the cheapest excuse to include names and faces on the movie poster. The Eddie Peng cameo is so crass in its placement in the timeline, its duration, and the character that Eddie plays, that I was not just insulted, but offended. The screening that I watched was dubbed into Cantonese, and I actually felt bad because I think I might have enjoyed this movie more in its original Mandarin. I did enjoy the location shooting in parts of the film. I think they really did shoot in Vladivostok in eastern Russia, which was interesting since I've never been there. It was also interesting because apparently in Vladivostok they have Cinnabon. I can't necessarily say The Bodyguard is a good movie, but in some ways it's interesting. So I can't really say if you should or shouldn't watch it. That's up to you. But what I can say is if you're going to watch it, do it legally. Pay some money for the privilege. Don't watch this movie online. Go to the cinema and buy a ticket. If you don't see it that way, wait till it's available for rental or purchase. When it's released to home video, I'll update the description with a link where you could buy a hard copy. If you enjoyed my review, please tell me. If you didn't, tell me. If you enjoy the channel, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.